Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about being a woman in medicine because I am a woman in medicine, it's International Women's Day coming up, and I don't really feel like this is a topic that's talked about very much, particularly on YouTube. At my paediatrics interview this time last year, I was asked who inspires me, and my answer was women in medicine, particularly women of colour in medicine. I face daily challenges as an Asian female doctor, and I can't even imagine how hard it must have been 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I'm constantly inspired by these women that I work with. These are things that I hadn't really even thought about or realised until I became a doctor, but I want to share my personal experiences with you and the experiences that women have kindly shared with me over Instagram so that you're aware of what to expect and how to challenge these and you're more empowered in your day-to-day life. I don't want to scare you, I just want you to know what sorts of things can happen and how you can challenge these behaviours and help make a change in the perceptions of women in medicine. I have these sorts of conversations regularly with female colleagues and female friends, but you might not get the opportunity to do so. So I want you to have it now with me. And if you're a male doctor, please do keep watching because I want you to know what half of your colleagues go through regularly and be aware of how you can help make a change in these difficulties as well. Things are changing and they're so much better than they were 10, 20 years ago, but there is still a long way to go and that's what we need to work on together. The first thing I want to talk about that I know every single female colleague has gone through is being mistaken for a nurse. And I know so many male colleagues and friends that this has never happened to. A recent survey of 4,000 British people found that only 5% of people thought of a woman when they were asked to think of a doctor. I don't think a day goes by where a parent, patient, colleague, anyone else doesn't believe I'm a doctor or thinks that I'm a nurse. I'll give you a few examples. I've had times when I'm working with a male nurse in A&E and the patient will keep calling the male nurse doctor and me nurse, and they can't get their head around the fact that our roles are the other way around. I've had so many times where I approach a patient on the phone and they say, oh, hold on, the nurse is here, to whoever they're talking to. If I'm doing an AMTS on a patient and I ask them what my role is as part of the AMTS, most of the time the patient will say that I am the nurse rather than the doctor. And I've had a friend who said to someone that they work in the hospital and this person then introduced them as a nurse, even though they'd never said they were a nurse, they just said they worked in the hospital. It happens all the time. People just always assume that a female in a hospital is a nurse and they can't get their head around the fact that they're a doctor, even though almost 50% of doctors are women. These gender biases are ingrained in all of us. I've had times that a patient has told me that they saw Dr. Jones and I will assume Dr. Jones is a man because I've never met them, and the patient ends up correcting me. And I'm sure there's been times where you've assumed a doctor is going to be a man and you're surprised when it's a woman. It's literally ingrained in us from such a young age. There was another study that showed that 7 out of 10 children assumed that a surgeon should be a man and a nurse should be a woman. It's ingrained in us from such a young age, but we really need to start challenging these gender biases. I always correct people when they say that I'm a nurse, even if it's a small thing like, oh nurse, could you get me a blanket? I say, oh, I'm the doctor, but yes, sure, I'll go get you one, because we need to constantly challenge these things and make people aware that a woman in a hospital is not necessarily a nurse and can very easily be a doctor as well. I've also seen male colleagues do this on my behalf, and it's really nice to see that they're also understanding the problems that we face and also trying to correct patients in their misunderstandings and gender assumptions. Every situation needs to be corrected. Only then will we start to see a change in people's attitudes to women and men in a hospital setting. Another thing that I've seen happen multiple times is that women are always assumed to not be the most senior doctor. I've seen an obstetric consultant enter an emergency and say, I'm the obstetric consultant, I'm the one in charge, I'm the boss. And I can only assume she says this because there have been times where people don't realise this because she is an Asian woman. I've had times where I'm on a ward round with a medical student and the nurses who I've worked with before will go to the medical student who's on his first day on the ward and tell them something about a patient. And I've had to stop them and say, that's the medical student, I'm the doctor, what is it that you were saying? People tend to assume that the man is the most senior person in the room, and I think this applies for non-medical specialties as well. It's a problem that women face all the time. I've seen ward rounds that are being led by a female doctor and the patients will answer the female doctor's questions but direct their answers to a male junior, even though it's a female doctor who's more senior and a female doctor who's asking the questions themselves. Patients always assume that women have less authority than a male standing beside them. I really hope that male doctors and medical students are aware of the hierarchy that is assumed when they're working with female colleagues and are aware that patients always assume that they're the more senior person and the person with more authority even when they might not be. The next thing I want to talk about is career choice and career progression. So many of you told me that you feel pressure to choose an easy specialty, but if I'm honest, I'm not really sure what constitutes as an easy specialty anymore. Even things like GP, which often gets lumbered around as being easy, is not easy and requires a lot of hard work and has difficulties in other ways. Each specialty has its own challenges, and to be honest, even in paediatrics there's shift work, but sometimes shift work has its benefits, and my colleagues have told me that they find that there's times that they get to spend more time with their children because of their shift work. So there are pros and cons of each specialty, and this really needs to be thought about. And if you've decided on a specialty and you know it's what you want to commit to and you're aware of the work-life balance difficulties, don't let other people sway you into other specialties if this is what you really want to do. But make sure you really reflect and research how seniors have coped and what they find works and doesn't work for them. Because that's what I spent a really long time doing, and it's what ended up making me choose paediatrics, because I realised actually my seniors are able to make it work and it was something that I wanted to do. But at the beginning it was the biggest thing putting me off choosing paediatrics, because I thought that I would find it really difficult to balance my work and my life. Many women, myself included, want to have children, and this will obviously impact your ability to work. You'll be working whilst you're pregnant, and then once you have a baby, you'll need to have the baby, you'll be breastfeeding, you'll need to care for the child, and this really does make an impact on your training and your ability to work. It is increasingly common that men are taking paternity leave and shared parental leave, but this obviously isn't the same as what a woman needs to do to have a baby and to breastfeed and to care for a child. What has really inspired me is seeing how many women make it work. I work with a paediatric consultant who has 4 children and is a full-time consultant, and she's able to manage her life and she has made it work and been successful. I look at female colleagues with children and I literally wonder, how do they do it? I'm in awe of them, but they are able to do it, and you'll be able to do it too, and so will I. Another thing is being able to work less than full time, and so many men and women do this. It was something I didn't really know was an option when I was a medical student, but it's really common within medicine, and it means that family life and work balance is so much easier than it might have been otherwise. The last thing I want to talk about is the gender pay gap. Now, I never even knew there was a gender pay gap in medicine. I just assumed we're all paid the same, so why would there be a gender pay gap? But there is one. I was first aware of this when a colleague of mine, a male colleague actually, did a teaching session on it, and I've been much more aware of it since then. A recent review published by the BMA states that women hospital doctors in England earn on average 18.9% less than male colleagues, and this gap is even bigger when you compare doctors who don't work full-time. This is mostly because of the underrepresentation of women in senior roles and in highest paid positions. However, as you can see, these are already issues that the BMA are already looking at, and they're calling for more to be done to investigate and monitor the gender pay gap and to support women and men in having children and in childcare. I've outlined some of the issues that women face on a daily basis in medicine, but I want you to know that already so much is being done to tackle these, and there's stuff that you can do as well. If you search #womeninmedicine on Twitter or Instagram, you'll find lots of different pages talking about these issues and raising awareness. You'll find events that you can join. There are even some mentorship schemes that you can join in order to find a mentor who is a female in medicine. I hope after watching this video you feel empowered to speak to colleagues, particularly male colleagues, about these issues and make sure that they're aware of what they can do to support you as well, and aware of the hierarchy and biases that already exist. I also hope that you now look for role models in the women that you work with, recognise their achievements and look for people you aspire to be like. I've had times where I've had weekend shifts that the whole team, from consultant to F1, are women, and it makes me feel so proud that we've achieved this compared to decades ago when this wasn't a possibility. I want you all to thrive in your careers in medicine, but in order to do this, you also need to be aware of some of the difficulties that we face and how to tackle them. The situation has improved in recent years thanks to strong women in medicine, but we need more women to continue this in the future. We are responsible for creating a change in how women in medicine are perceived. No one else will do it for us. I think that's everything I have to say in this video. I hope that it's given you lots to think about if you're a man or a woman, and I hope you're now just more aware of some of these gender biases that exist when working in a hospital setting every single day. Please do let me know if you have any other facts or any other ideas of things that people can do, and drop them in the comments below. I think that'd be really interesting, and it'd be really nice to just get a conversation going about how people feel being a woman in medicine. I absolutely love being a woman in medicine, but I just want you to know about these other parts that do exist that you need to know about when you're entering your careers. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. I hope that you found this interesting, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!